Hi everyone, my name is Jason Arthur, and this is my artifact submission for SLO number 1, the scientific approach to reading. So, a little bit about me. I am 24, about to be 25 years old. I live right outside of Baltimore City in Maryland. I moved here about 6 months ago, I want to say, after living on Long Island my entire life. I have been working in childcare for about as long as I have been working. I have initially started as a swim instructor back when I was 13 years old, and I have been working in childcare to some capacity ever since. So I swim instructed for about 10 years, and I have also had the luxury of teaching preschool for numerous years, 3 years now. This is my third preschool class that I am currently teaching right now, as well as toddlers, both 18 months and 24, 2 years and up. So I've been able to bounce around and work with different age demographics. Never fortunate enough to work with infants, but maybe one day I will get there. But through and through, no matter what age that you're working with, literacy is such a crucial component as a building block to, education for these young minds. It is one of the basic things that you focus on like from the very beginning, because it is a skill that they will use throughout the remainder of their lives, not simply just in reading books or doing work in school, but in everyday activities. Reading a sign when they drive down the street, being able to navigate a map when they're in a place that they don't know. People rely very heavily on words and the ability to utilize them in everyday life. So it is important from a very young age, from the ages that I am working with currently, that you hammer in those key components to make sure that we can tackle an issue before there is necessarily an issue to be had. Where we can have issues with that and how things may not always fall as easily as having optimal instruction within the classroom is introducing learning disabilities such as dyslexia into the classroom. In my experiences working with kids academically, I have fortunately not had to work with anybody who suffers from any sort of learning disability. I definitely have suspicions about potential like ADHD diagnoses, but I am not in the place to make that call for certain things. I can simply point out characteristics and traits that I've noticed in the classroom on a day-to-day basis and kind of move forward with the parents from there to see what help they might want to consider introducing to their young child trying to learn. So with that, dyslexia is a very difficult thing to overcome. It is not the simple thing that everybody thinks that they see on TV, where you open up a book and half the letters flip around and that they are not able to read anything because B's and D's are W's or M's or whatnot. But it is definitely a challenge, especially for children in a young age, because they don't have that basic building block level for them to be able to work off of and see maybe where the issue arose and where we can work to progressively move from there. They are starting from scratch. So it is important to be able to tackle an issue like this as quickly as you possibly can when they are in those earlier developmental stages, because it can potentially help to push them back on track if they are seemingly falling behind. The biggest issues seemingly being with phonics, phonetics, in not only recognizing letters, but recognizing the sounds that each letter makes. Because what we don't realize is that every letter in the English language typically carries more than one sound with it. When you say different kinds of words that start with the same letter, you aren't necessarily always going to hear the same sound that comes out of it. So that can be very confusing, especially for children who are not technically able to associate what the typical sound would be for a given letter, or don't have that prior knowledge necessary to just recognize that I'm trying to think of an example. So like we'll use a C word. So saying, oh, no, see, we can't even use that one because I'm thinking of multiple different things. I am so sorry. Thinking of words such as like a C word, like car, that makes a k sound, not k. There's no there. The k sound when you're pronouncing the word car versus saying the word chase, which has a ch sound. They aren't able to distinguish the differences between why it would make the ch sound in the phonic versus making the k sound as a simple standalone letter versus with the ch combination. Ah, so I think that an important factor when addressing something like this, something that works well in just, typical development for teaching children literacy at such a young age, is giving them that sort of confidence. I've noticed a lot in my teachings as time has gone on that it has been proven exceedingly difficult for children to want to learn, want to be able to do the work if they are afraid that they are not capable of doing so. Something I've had to kind of instill in the classroom a lot, and something I've conversed with the class a lot as a whole, is the idea that failure is a part of what we do to learn. It is not a reflection of how we are as students, how we are as people. Like, we are not bad people because we fail. Simply, failing is just a way of showing us maybe we are struggling with this aspect of what we're trying to learn. And so, with that information, we're able to take that, reassess, and bring forward something new that would hopefully make it a little bit easier for us to understand. So I've read multiple stories to my class about the ideas of confidence and perseverance, because I am not going to be mad if they are not capable of doing something. Knowing that they are not capable of doing something is not always just going to be a poor reflection on my ability to teach them. Maybe sometimes things are not going to always work one way for every single student in the classroom. So being able to recognize and understand when they have a problem with something, and being able to take that information and run back and see if there's something else that we could try to make it work can honestly do a lot. There's a ton of stigma around dyslexia and what it means to be dyslexic in the classroom. It is not from an effort of a lack of effort, a lack of motivation. It's not from a lack of understand. It's not from a lack of intelligence. It's not from a lack of care. It's just something that we are hardwired with, if and have to learn how to work around when we are moving on in our day to days. So, in that same sort of vein of helping the kids to understand that a failure does not mean that we should give up on what we're doing, you could introduce that in that same sort of light when you are talking to a student with dyslexia, making them understand that this is just a part of who they are, and that we just need to figure out the right way for us to learn that's going to make us and make each day a bit easier in instruction. So, I think eliminating that negative stigma around it and being able to open the kids' eyes that failure is okay as long as it helps us to learn further in the future, then overall we can find a lot more benefit and maybe a lot more positive workload from students who are struggling. Thank you.